usually does for northeast Ohio is it drags that jet stream farther to the south, basically blankets it close to, if not over northeast Ohio, and it just allows system after system to roll through. And there's other patterns that are happening in our atmosphere well off to our west, but it's what's allowing us to unlock so much of this Arctic air, and that's going to become another key part of this story as we head into the weekend and early this next week. So honestly, don't be surprised if the team issues additional 19 first alert weather days, especially as we look ahead towards this weekend and potentially beyond that, just because of how active this pattern has been. As for right now, the main concern is the first alert weather day for tomorrow. You'll notice the timing 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. So this is really going to be an afternoon to early evening event. You see the ice, you see the snowflakes here in the studio. Both of those are going to be some concerns that we have. So maybe you're trying to escape some of this weather. First of all, I don't blame you. But second of all, know that this may impact some travel here across northeast Ohio, whether you're driving, whether you're taking to the skies. As for tonight, I don't anticipate any weather-related issues, especially if you're traveling, at least here locally. Now, where you're going, that may be a bit of a different story because we do have a strong system down to our south. Places like D.C. likely going to be seeing some bigger kind of issues, especially when it comes to air travel. But this evening, temperatures into the 20s. We're just cloudy here locally. Same can be said for tomorrow morning, so it's not likely we see a ton of issues to get the day started. The more you get into the afternoon and evening, though, the more we're bringing back some of that snow, potentially some icing concerns, and that can lead to some delays, especially over at Cleveland Hopkins, even Akron-Canton's airport. So just kind of keep that in mind. As we go through the next couple of events, please make sure you have that 19 First Alert weather app downloaded. All you have to do is search 19 News in your smartphone's app store, or we make it really easy. You just scan that QR code, and it allows you to get that free download and always have the latest updates from the team basically right at your fingertips. So just keep that in mind. Temperatures right now into the upper 20s to low 30s. We'll talk about where we go from here, especially looking ahead towards this event tomorrow, coming up in just a few minutes. Yeah, so it's going to be a pretty active work week overall just because of this train of systems. They just kind of keep coming into northeast Ohio, and the next one is set to arrive tomorrow, mainly into that afternoon to evening time frame. And depending on where you're at, it's going to vary what kind of conditions you're expecting. For some, it could be rain, others ice, and yes, even for some, it could potentially all stay as snow. So that mixed bag of precipitation, as we'll call it, gives you some of those travel impacts essentially as we go through the day tomorrow. Now, there is a system down to our south. This is helping us to build in some moisture, but we're still battling a little bit of dry air that's filtering in from the north, which is why I don't think we're going to see too many issues with this system today as it continues to work its way eastward. But the system you see out towards Nebraska, eventually both of these kind of work in tandem, and as it moves closer to northeast Ohio, it allows us to build in more of that moisture, and it collides with some of that colder air already in place, which is then what gives us that best chance for some wintry weather come tomorrow afternoon. Here's your future view, 1 o'clock. You can see temperatures at this point already about lower 30s. Most of us not dealing with any significant precipitation until we get into the afternoon time frame. That's really when I think you're going to start seeing some rain to the south where temperatures may be low to mid 30s versus a little freezing rain, some sleet mixing in the farther north you go. And then if you go into northwest Ohio, well, then your impact could potentially just be all a little bit heavier snow trying to work through as the bulk of that moisture passes to the north. So actually, as we go through the day tomorrow, your temperature will continue to warm, and that's a good trend for us because any icing we get early could potentially melt at least a little bit as we go through Wednesday night, early Thursday. The problem is we still get the backside of that cold air that comes in, and that's going to send your temperature crashing. So through the day on Thursday, any of the moisture that fell earlier in the day on Wednesday, and if it's still sticking around, could likely freeze over, and then you may get some additional snow showers on the backside of that system as temperatures slowly start to fall mid to upper 20s. So you can see where things are going to get a little slick for us and potentially still stay that way headed into your Thursday. Now Friday, I would say Friday looks to be one of the better days that we'll have. Partly cloudy skies, so anybody that has some of those Valentine's Day plans, I would say right now everything is looking good to go. We're just kind of waiting on some of that ice to melt away, which may be a bit harder, especially considering where our temperatures are going to be through the day. You'll notice the morning awfully chilly. Temperatures into the teens. By lunchtime, we're into the 20s and potentially seeing a few more of us closer to 30 degrees by the afternoon. But it's a scenario where you're still going to want to have that winter weather gear, especially close by. By this weekend, there's another system that comes in on Saturday. This one could create some pretty messy conditions once again to get the weekend started and then leave us with some residual snow opportunities headed into Sunday. So I think this weather pattern's still going to stay pretty active. And the problem with this system is it unlocks some much colder air on the other side of the weekend. We'll talk about that in your 7-day forecast coming up.